You weighed yourself this morning. You're up 3 pounds from yesterday. But you ate well, you trained, you changed nothing, and yet 3 pounds heavier. So now you're questioning everything. Did you eat too much? Is the deficit not working? Are you just not responding to the program? Here's the truth that doesn't get nearly enough attention in the fitness industry. The number on the scale this morning tells you almost nothing about whether you're making progress. I know. After a decade and a half of coaching, I've watched countless smart, disciplined guys completely derail their cuts because they saw a bad number on a Tuesday morning and they panicked. Understanding scale weight fluctuations is not optional. It's the difference between successful dieting and quitting when things were actually working. And that's what I'm going to dive into in today's video. Now, before I do, if you're interested in taking the guesswork out of physique change, comment Kickstart Guide and I'll send you our free Rip Body macro calculator, training programs and 15-day email course guiding you through the mistakes not to make. No biohacks, no supplements, just real food, serious lifting and data-driven decision making. The idea is to leave you empowered so that chasing your physique goals doesn't take over your life. All right, let's get into it. Part 1. What the scale is actually measuring. Now, before anything else, you need to understand what the scale is measuring. It doesn't only capture changes in fat, but also muscle mass, water, and glycogen. That's carbs stored in your muscles and liver. And also gut content. That's the food and drink currently being digested. Now, your weight fluctuates, both throughout the day and throughout the week. You know this. Like, you could weigh yourself 5 times throughout today and get completely different numbers. In general, we tend to be our lightest in the morning, and that's because we lose weight through sweating and breathing at night. And we then gain weight as we rehydrate in the morning and then throughout the day, and then it ebbs and flows with our toilet visits. So we're capturing a lot of stuff here, not just fat mass change, which is what we tend to think of when we step on the scale. The problem is that muscle, fat, water, gut content, and glycogen, they all change on different timescales. Muscle mass, for example. Those changes are the slowest, and total change will only be somewhere between 0 to 5 pounds over 3 to 6 months of dieting for the average lifter. Now, this is actually a good thing because we don't really need to consider it in the short term when we're assessing progress. So we can set muscle mass change aside for now, assuming that you're not brand new to lifting, which I doubt you are if you're watching this video. Now, fat can be burned off far more quickly than muscle can be gained, but these changes still happen slowly, relatively speaking. Practically, our clients aim to gain 0.5 to 0.75% of their body weight per week. We consider that to be the sweet spot, which balances hunger and fatigue and then motivation for seeing results. So that means that you will likely be aiming for 1 to 1.5 pounds of fat loss per week. However, water, gut content, and glycogen can all cause swings in weight, 2 to 3 pounds each day on average, and some days you'll experience much more. So this means we cannot look at our scale weight at the end of each week and determine our fat loss. It's the equivalent of trying to measure the tide by looking at waves. You've got to internalize that, or the scale is simply going to mess with your head as it does so many people. Now look, I recall a client of ours, Derek, and he's by no means alone here. He emailed me on a check-in on a Saturday, having gained 4.5 pounds overnight, convinced that he had blown his cut. Now his diet adherence had been perfect. His training had been good. The only thing that he did differently was he went out for Mexican the night before, and even then he was careful to keep to his calorie budget. Now, we've seen this scenario thousands of times, but to Derek, this was new. But the calorie math is the calorie math, and you can't gain 4.5 pounds without eating 15,000 calories over budget and somehow absorbing all of it and storing it as fat. We knew that this could only be due to water and gut content, and sure enough, by the following Wednesday, he was back down to his previous levels, leaner than ever. The fat loss had never stopped. It was just temporarily masked. This type of thing is going to be happening to you all the time as you diet. The most important thing is that we stopped him from needlessly slashing calories at exactly the wrong moment. So how do we know whether we need to cut calories or just hold off? Well, first, let me walk you through the main drivers of these fluctuations, because knowing what's behind those spikes and those dips in weight, well, this can stop you from reacting to it. Part 2, what causes weight fluctuations? So if it wasn't fat, then what was it? Well, in Derek's case, it was the saltier and carbier food with a bit of bloating. But in general, there are 5 main things causing fluctuations. The first is sodium intake. When you eat more salt than usual, your body retains water to dilute it. A high sodium restaurant meal can add 2 or 3 pounds of water weight within 24 hours, and it can disappear within a few days when you return to normal eating. Now, the important point here is that you're not always conscious of how much salt is in your food, and I don't really think you should be tracking exactly all of the salt that is in your food each day, but it's just something to be aware of. Slightly saltier foods, that will lead to you holding on to water temporarily. The second is carbohydrate intake. So carbs are stored as glycogen in the muscles and liver. Now, each gram stored brings roughly 3 grams of water with it. When we eat more carbs than usual, our weight goes up, and when we cut carbs, it drops. This is not fat change, it's glycogen and water moving in and out of the body. Now, this misunderstanding explains why so many people fear eating carbs and get trapped in low-carb diets. The third is stress. Cortisol causes water retention, so a rough week at work, a poor night's sleep, an argument, a heavy training block, all of it can cause us to hold on to water, which masks fat loss for days, sometimes weeks at a time. The fat loss will still be happening as long as you're in the calorie deficit. It's just that it will be masked by water. Super important point there. The fourth is digestion. Just some foods, they leave more gut residue than others. So vegetables in particular, they hold more water and take longer to move through. A day where you eat a lot of vegetables and fiber, they can add 1 pound or more in gut content alone. And lastly, fifth, for the ladies, the menstrual cycle. The week before the period can bring a significant water retention, as every lady knows. Typically it's 1 to 4 pounds, and that will drop shortly after menstruation starts. Now, this is predictable, trackable, and unrelated to fat gain, but obviously when you're in the thick of the diet, it can be very easy to forget. Alright, so now you know why the scale moves, and you also know that the magnitude of these movements can completely mask the underlying fat mass changes. So let me show you how we as coaches at RipBody get our clients to log their data, and how we go about interpreting that. So this is going to help you not needlessly react to the noise. Part 3, how to actually read your scale data. So here's the part that most people never figure out on their own. And it's the reason that 2 people can be on an identical program with identical adherence, but one of them snaps and quits. One data point tells you nothing. This is the single most important thing that I can teach you about tracking. Here's what works, and here's what we get clients to do. Weigh yourself first thing in the morning, after using the bathroom, before eating or drinking anything. I want you to note the number to the nearest 0.1 pounds, or kilos if you use those. Always do this at the same time of day. We recommend the morning just because it's easier to build that habit. Brush your teeth, jump on the scale. Simple. At the end of each week, add these numbers together and then divide by 7 to create a weekly average. That is going to give you a trend line, and then you want to compare the weekly averages over time. The trend is all that matters. Now, I want you to imagine trying to read the trend by just looking at the daily weigh-ins, which is represented by the light purple line here. It's going to drive you mad, right? But this is what most people try to do, and over far too short of a time frame. Now, this reminds me of another client, John, who had his confidence rocked by exactly this. As a bigger guy, his weight data fluctuated by more than the average person. But when we showed him his weekly averages and how they were going down by 0.8 pounds in the first week, 1.2 in the second, and 1.1 in the third, he was able to laugh at it. He was able to laugh at his panic and frustration. The cut was working perfectly. He just couldn't see through it with the daily noise, and that was getting in his head. So, how do you know when you need to make a change? Part 4, when to stay patient and when to act. So now that you know how to read the data, you need to know what to do with it. Because if you slash calories unnecessarily, you make life harder than it needs to be. And if you don't act, you don't see results and your motivation takes a hit. Here's the decision framework that we use with clients. First, if your weight is up compared to yesterday, do nothing. One data point is just noise. Second, if your average weight is higher this week than last, do nothing. As we've covered, your weight is going to fluctuate. Again, this is just noise. Now, if your average weight is higher for at least 2 weeks, again, I don't want you to do anything. 1 or 2 weeks of flat readings almost always resolves itself if your adherence has been good prior to that. In fact, I want you to wait a full 4 weeks before you try to gauge anything from your progress data. Then, if things aren't moving to plan, consider making an adjustment. Patience here isn't passive. It's the most disciplined thing that you can do. The guys who make consistent progress over the years are the ones who remain calm, they look at the trends, and they make deliberate, non-emotional decisions. Now, part 5, the biggest mistake. I'll end with this because it's the most expensive error that I see, and it's particularly common. Someone sees a bad number on the scale and they cut calories. The water retention resolves itself naturally over the next few days, and the weight suddenly drops. They conclude that the calorie cut worked. But now their calories are too low. Their hunger is getting unsustainable, their training performance drops, and they start burning through the muscle that they spent months building. And at some point, these things are going to catch up to them, and they snap. You don't cut calories to fix water retention. You need to wait. This is exactly why the weekly average system exists. It makes you respond to real data instead of the noise. Your body is not doing something wrong if the scale goes up after a good week of adherence. We don't control these short-term fluctuations. Learn to read them correctly, and it will stop being a source of anxiety and start being a useful tool. So, I hope this gives you a little insight as to why weight fluctuations happen and how to deal with them. And like I said, if you're interested in taking the guesswork out of physique change, comment Kickstart Guide and I'll send you our free Rip Body macro calculator, training programs, and 15-day course guiding you through the most common mistakes that we see. No biohacks, no supplements. Again, just real food, serious lifting, and data-driven decision making. Body transformation can happen without the process taking over your life. Thank you so much for watching. And if you want an even deeper dive, be sure to check out this video next on what to do when fat loss stalls. And let me know in the comments what you took away from this and going to put into action. Because ultimately, information without action doesn't help anyone. All right, I'll see you there, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.